Once you created an object for this particular class, inside the class one method is going to execute it. That method we can say like a constructor. Okay, what is the use? What my constructor is going to do means my constructor is going to allocate the memory for the variables, so that how my constructor knows to whom I have to allocate the memory to the variables. If you declare the variables out of this constructor, how my constructor come to know like to allocate the memory for these particular variables? My constructor don't know. That's the reason to which variables you want me to allocate the memory. Okay, that variables you have to assign, you have to include, you have to register inside the constructor only or not. You have to write inside the constructor. If you write those variables out of this constructor, those variables will not initialized. Okay, those variables will not allocated memory. So at the time of creating an object, my constructor will execute. My constructor is going to allocate the memory for the variables which are inside the constructor. So that this dot n1 equals to 10, this dot n2 equals to 20, and equals to 20. Once memory allocated for this particular variables and initialized with this particular data, now you can use these variables wherever you want. You can use these variables wherever you want. So how we can use these variables? Okay, write one method. I want to find the sum. So add is the method. This is the method. This is the method syntax inside the class. Okay, like this, how many methods you can write? Any number of methods you can write it. By subtraction also one more method like this. Any number of methods you can write it. So the add method, when it is going to call, that time you have to give some result like console.log of. See, this is the variable. This is the variable. Now inside this one, if I declare n3 equals to 20, n3 equals to 30. Now, can we find the sum of n1 plus n2 plus n2 plus n3? n1 plus n2 plus n3. If you write like this, at the time of executing my o.add method, can anyone tell what is my result? If you write like this, can anyone tell what's my result? It gives me an error. Perfect. What is the error? What is that error? What is that error? Can anyone say? What is that error? You created one object. Yes. Construct executed. Allocate the memory for this particular variable. It's okay, fine. Okay, here you called add. Here n1 plus n2 plus n3. Okay, n3 is not defined. Okay, but before n3, is my n1 is defined directly? Is my n1 is defined directly? My n1 is inside my current object, this or not. If you want to retrieve the data from this object dot key, you have to use it. Directly, can I use my key? For example, if you have an object is there where o equals to n1 10, how you can get this 10? Can you get this 10 directly n1 reference? Or you can get this one by using o.n1. Which one is the right syntax? Directly, we are not able to call the property. Directly, we are not able to get the property value. Okay, if you want to get the property value by using object reference only or not, my n1 is not a direct variable that is inside my current object or not. If you want to retrieve also, then how we can retrieve it? By using object reference only or not. So once you created a variable or method or whatever it is, those are under my current object this. If it is under my current object this, while retrieving also you have to use the same format. Why? Because all these things under my current object, inside my current object. If you want to retrieve the data from this object dot key, not direct key. So that here it gives me an error like n1 is not defined. n1 is not defined. Where is my n1? My n1 is inside this. So that how you can retrieve it? This dot n1. Okay, the next one is like what? This dot n2. Okay, here what about the n3? n3 is not inside my current object. Okay, that one is like a, you declare like a normal var, a functional variable. So here my var, if you observe, okay, var n330, if you observe, that is inside my constructor, right? So this variable is the local variable for this particular constructor or not? So the scope of this variable is what? The scope of this variable is inside the constructor. The scope of the variable is like inside the constructor, line number 3 to 6. Okay, line number 3 to 6, wherever you want you can use this n3, but out of this constructor we are not able to use. Why? Because that is the local variable. So now it gives me an error like what? N3 is not defined. To fix this error, two ways are there. One is like you can declare the N3 the variable inside my add, so that my N3 is the local variable for my add. Inside my add you can use it. This is one way. Another way is just make this variable like a class member, okay, class variable like this. So inside this my n3 is there now. So my this is available where my current object is available. My object you can use wherever you want inside the class, okay, so that here also you can use it. Now you can get like what, this dot m3 like this or not. Okay, can you hear me? Are you able to hear or not? Anyone? Okay, now subtraction also the same thing, n1 minus n2 or something like this you can put it. Now this is my class syntax. My class contains constructor. Okay, my class contains your user defined methods also. You can write any number of methods, no problem at all. Okay, for example, this value not inside my arithmetic class. This value out of your class like this. My class, okay, my class which contains a constructor. Okay, here my this dot m3 equals to 30. 30. Now, if I create an object for this particular arithmetic class where o equals to new arithmetic o dot add, if you call like this, can anyone tell what is my answer? Can anyone tell what is my answer? If it is like this, can anyone tell what is my answer? If I call my o dot add, this dot n1 is there 10, this dot n2 is there 20, my this dot n3, this is there, but n3 is not there. So my this dot n3 value like undefined. So 10 plus 20 is 30. 30 plus undefined is like a not a number. The answer is like what? Nan, not a number. But my output should be 10 plus 20 plus 30. My output should be 30, not a number. I want the output like a 60. 60. So that how we can. My class arithmetic requires the property n3 property, okay, which is inside my class or not. Okay, I need some of the properties from this class to this class. So how we can get some properties from outside? Okay, that property may be a variable or it's like a method, whatever it is. How we can get the properties from outside to into my class, outside class to into my class? How we can get it means there has one concept is there, extends, okay, inheritance concept. By using inheritance concept, okay, we can, okay, extends we can use here, extends we can use it. From which class you want me to get the properties? From my class. From my class you can extend these properties. Okay, now can anyone tell here if I write like o dot add, if I call o dot add, can anyone tell what is my answer now? If I call my o dot add, can anyone tell what is my answer now? O dot add, what is my answer now? If I call my o dot add, it gives me an error like, okay, super is not called. Okay, why we need to call super exactly? Why we need to call super exactly means very simple thing. First of all, line number 21, if you observe, you are going to create an object for which class? Arithmetic class. So that which class construct is going to execute? Arithmetic class construct is going to execute. What my construct is going to do? My construct is going to allocate the memory for the variables which are inside this arithmetic constructor or not. So that which variables are allocated memory? N1 variable is going to allocate some memory, N2 variable is going to allocate some memory. Okay, now here you are going to put like what? Your initialized values also. Allocate the memory and perform initialization. Allocate the memory and perform initialization. Allocate the memory and perform initialization. I'm back. Here, see, if I write like this dot n1 plus this dot n2 plus this dot n3. Okay, here at the time of creating an object for arithmetic class, this constructor executed. This constructor executed. So that inside the constructor, how many variables are there? For that variables, it's going to allocate the memory and perform initialization. So n1 and n2 initialized with what? 10 and 20. So that yes, you can use that. Whatever the values initialized, you can use that one. But what about n3? Is my n3 is there inside this constructor to allocate the memory? But n3 is not there. So that it gives me an error like, okay, if my class is extends from any other class, if my class is extends from any other class, okay, there may be a chance that class also having some of the variables, that variable should be allocate the memory. Okay, if that variables are not allocating the memory for that, okay, then how we can use this dot n3? There may be a chance. See, if my class is extends from another class, okay, which class extends? My class extended. Okay, this class may have or may not have some variables or not. My class is a collection of variables and methods, so that this class may have some variables. If that class have some variables, that variable should be allocated the memory or not. Okay, if you want to allocate the memory, then that class constructor should be execute or not. So how many ways we can call the constructor? One is like to create an object. Okay, by creating an object like this new my class, this is one way. Another way is how we can call my superclass constructor, means by using a super method. By using super method. Yesterday we already discussed, if you create an object for my class, then one more space going to create. Why? Because new is going to allocate some space to that particular class objects. So that I don't want to create one more space in this particular object space only. Okay, I want to allocate the memory for n3 also or not. So that this is the thing is happened. Now you should have to call my super. My super is nothing but this one. Super class is nothing but this one. Super class method they are calling is nothing but this constructor. Indirectly it's going to call, okay, this dot n3 equals to 30. It's going to allocate the memory by this constructor in the same space. In the same space. It's why? Because we are not using like new operator. Okay, now the same thing if you observe. See, go to my console. If I write like one class, okay, my class, inside this class I have a constructor. I have a constructor. Here I have one value is that n2 equals to 20, for example. Okay, now I have one more. My own class is there. Class, class. Inside this I have one more constructor. Constructor is there. Okay, here I'm going to write like this dot n1 equals to 10. This dot n1 equals to 10. Now here I have one method is there. Add is the method. Add is the method. Here I'm going to write like my console.log of this dot n1 plus this dot n dot n this dot n1 plus this dot n. If you have any other method in parent class, then we call, sir. Yes, we can call it. Then we can call that method. I will tell that one. See here. This is my constructor. This is my add method. Okay, if you call this add method, what is my error? There is no error, nothing, but this dot empty is not initialized, so that it gives me like not a number, not a number. So this dot empty is available where? Inside my class. So that can we get that property from there? Okay, how we can extends, okay, my class. Okay, now in my class, how many properties are there? One property, one variable is there. There is no methods, nothing. If the methods are there, that methods also will inherit into my arithmetic. Only one variable is there. Okay, that variable comes to your arithmetic. Now click on enter. If you want to call this add, what we have to do? You have to create an object or not. So, or how you can create an object like this? You can create an object. See, if you create an object, in that time only it gives me an error or not. Why? Because if you create an object for this particular arithmetic one, so which one is going to execute inside this arithmetic class? Constructor will execute. Now it is going to check, is my arithmetic is like independent class or it is going to Okay, extend some of the properties from my class. Okay, extend some of the properties from another class. It is going to check. Yes, my arithmetic class is going to extend the properties from another class or not. So that immediately inside the constructor is going to check. Is my super class is there, right? The super class constructor is going to call or not, it is going to check. Is my super class constructor is going to call? Yes, no, there is no super class constructor called here. Okay, so that it gives me an error. Okay, if you override the constructor, okay, that means inside your class, constructor is there. If my class is extends from another class, then the time inside the constructor, my super should be called as a first executable statement. Okay, so that can we write the super one? Okay, how we can write the super? Like this, you can write it. Okay, he said like super is missing. So can I write like this? Super. Okay, now can I create an object? Again, it gives me the same error, right? Now I create an object, my constructor executed, my constructor inside what? Okay, my constructor executed before that it's going to check is my class is extended from another class or not? Yes, there. So that my constructor first executable statement should be what? Super or not. My constructor first executable statement is what? Super or not. But here super is there, but it should be the first executable statement. Before this, you have to use it. Before using this inside the constructor, you should have to use super. So which one is the right syntax? Here my super should be this one. Here, right? My super should be here. Okay, now can I write like this, where O equals to arithmetic? See internally how it is going to check. It is going to create an object for what? Arithmetic class. So that arithmetic class constructor is going to execute. Before executing this constructor, okay, it is going to check for what? Is my class is extends from another class or not? Yes, extends from another class. If my class is extends from another class, immediately inside the constructor it is looking for what? Super method. Super method. If the super method is not there, then that it gives me an error. Super method is there, then that it is going to call what? My super class constructor or not. Once my super class constructor is going to call, my super class constructor contains some of the variables, right? Those variables will be allocated the memory. And then once it is done, my own variable is what? N1. That is also allocated the memory or not. Once the memory is allocated for the variables, yes, you can. Okay, that memory allocated is nothing but some address is there for that particular space. By using that address, we can call it or not. So you can call, you can use like this or not. Okay, now can we put the debuggers now? Okay, inside this constructor, we put the debugger. Okay, here can I write one method f1. Okay, this f1 method console.log of f1 from superclass. F1 from superclass. Is it okay or not? Okay, now can I click on enter? Can I click on enter? Now can we execute your class? Executed. Can we create an object for this particular one? Y equals to new. Okay, which class? Arithmetic or not? If I click on enter, see here, my superclass constructor executed or not? Why? Because here, if you see this, okay, first this is my super. My super call is nothing but my parent class constructor is going to execute or not. So my parent class constructor executed. My parent class variable is going to allocate the memory, and then my own variable is going to allocate the memory. Okay, now both are allocated the memory. Now you can call my o.add. Then I can see here my o.add is like 30 or not. Is it okay? Okay, now I want to do like slight change here. Okay, see, this is my parent class. This is my class. I removed everything. Okay, observe this one. Add is the method which takes this dot n1 and this dot n2. This n1 n2 variables are coming from where? This n1 and n2 variables are coming from where? This n1 and n2 variables are coming from where? N1 n2 variables are not my own variables. Those are coming from my parent class or not. Who is the parent here? Okay, my class is my parent or not. So if you want to allocate the memory for this particular variables n1 n2, you should have to call your superclass constructor or not. Here I didn't call the superclass constructor. Super method, where you have, from where you have to call it? Super method always has to call like a first executable statement inside the constructor or not. Here my constructor itself not there, right? Then the time will it use an error or what? Here, if I write like, if I call like this, if my constructor is there, constructor is not there. If the constructor is not there, from where I am going to call a super? Will it use an error or it is going to execute? Is my first of all tell me, is my constructor is the mandatory or not? For my class, my constructor is the mandatory or not? For a class, my constructor is the mandatory or not? Obviously no. Obviously no. My constructor is not a mandatory one. Okay, when you go for constructor, if you have some of the variables, if you want to declare some variables inside the class, then only you can go with the constructor. Inside this class, I don't want any variable, then that why I need a constructor? I don't want constructor. So that I didn't write it. Exactly when you go for constructor means really, if you want to use, okay, if you want to declare some of the variables, okay, if you want to declare some of the variables, then only you can go with the constructor. Okay, so here constructor is not there. Then the time I'm not able to call the swapper. If the swapper is not called, then the time this constructor is going to execute or not execute, not execute. But see, if I click on enter, no constructor, nothing is there. Now see here, my swapper class constructor executed, right? My swapper class constructor executed or not? You didn't call this one. So that first my JavaScript is going to check like this. At the time of creating an object, okay, for arithmetic class, is my constructor is there or not? It's going to check. If it is not there, my default constructor is going to execute what they written. They already called what? Your swapper class constructor. Okay, if you write the constructor here, you are the responsible person to call what? Swapper class constructor. If you didn't write the constructor in your class, then the time automatically my JavaScript people will take care. If really my class is extends from a swapper class, that swapper class constructor will execute by default. Understand or not? Okay, whenever you write the constructor in your class is extends from the another class, you are the responsible person to call your swapper class constructor. Okay, if this particular class is not having the constructor, okay, I'm not right, okay, there is no use of constructor here. Okay, then the time I didn't write the constructor, my class is extends from another class means then the time my JavaScript people is going to call my swapper class constructor. This is on the proof or not? Okay, here constructor is not there, still my debugger executed or not? Now see here, is really my memory allocated or not? If the memory is not allocated, then the time it will not execute. This dot n1, this dot n2 is not available, but here that is there or not there? This is only my expected output or not? Do you understand? Any other questions? Okay, now this is about the class. So how many ways we can create the components? How many ways we can create the components? How many ways we can create the components? Okay, there has two ways are there. One is like functional, another one is like class. So that can we create a component by using class now? Can we create a component by using a class? Okay, let's try. Now come here. Okay, how many components you created by using functional? Just convert into class now. Okay, just convert into class now. Okay, multiple inheritance, multi-level like this, multiple, okay, different ways are there. You can go through that. Okay, come here. The first one is like what? Hello world. Hello world. Okay, I'm going to put like C. Okay, extension C, just C. Lost character is like C. Then the thing you can understand like that is like class component. Okay, I will tell that one. I will tell. Once you get, okay, once you have get an idea on functional and class, then the time based on your requirement, which one is the better one, you have to choose. Okay, if you have an idea on both, then the time you only can decide which one is the recommended one. Okay, so that first complete this one. My class component. That's right. First of all, three things are required. This is common. One is like content, another one is like container, and then render your content inside the container. See, this is the one. Okay, this is the one, right? First of all, container. This is my container. The next one, content prepared by whom? Component. And then the content should render inside container or not. These are the three things or not. Okay, always functional component only. Okay, content and container and rendering, three things. Okay, let's start. First, container, you can write it. Okay, container is nothing but one simple div, you can say. Okay, id equals to root or something. Okay, you can put any element, no problem at all. Any name you can put it, no problem at all. But it's like a naming convention purpose. Just you are going to use like div id equals to root. That's it. This is my container. Okay, the next one is what? You have to place content, right? Content you can prepare by using what? By using a component. So can we create the component? Where you can create the component? Okay, inside you have to write some JavaScript code. Okay, script. Which type of component you want me to create? Which type of component you want me to create? You have to create like a class component or not. So that can you create the class first? Okay, how we can create the class? You know, right? My class is the keyword. What is my class name? Yeah, is my class name. That's it. This is a simple JavaScript class or not, ES6 class. Okay, this class should be acting like what? This class should acting like what? This class should acting like a component or not? Component or not? Now, if it is like a plain JavaScript class, then the time it is not having any, okay, external things, is not having any external things to behave like a component. Okay, so it's like what? It's like a plain JavaScript class. Okay, which is having some of the variables and methods. That's it. Some of the variables and methods. Okay, now it is not acting like a component. Why? Because it's not having any external things to behave like a component. To behave like a component. One class, how we can get some of the external things into your class. One class wants some of the external things into your class, then how we can get it? Okay, if it is like a plain class, it is like a JavaScript class only. Okay, if you want to act like this one, like a component, it needs some of the external things. So how we can get some of the variables and methods which is coming from outside into my class? How we can get it? By using inheritance or not? By using inheritance or not? So far it's like a plain JavaScript class. It's a class. Okay, it is not having any, okay, if you want to behave this app like a component, it needs some of the external things. Those things are not there. Okay, those things are given by whom? Okay, given by my React people. Those things are given by my React people. Okay, so my React people said like, yeah, if you want to create one class component, okay, I have some external things. If you add these things into your class, that class is turned to be like a component. That class is behaving like a component. So far this is like a ES6 class only. So far it's behave like a ES6 class only. I want to make this one like a component, right? So that some of the external things given by whom? React people. Can we get those things? Okay, how we can get those external things? Where it is given by React library. So can we get that React library first? Okay, React development dot yes. Okay, done. Now if you observe here, can we run this one? Can we run it? Open with live server. Open with live server. Can we inspect it? Okay, first check React is there or not there. React is there or not there? Yes, React is there. Okay, perfect. Now, one class you have. If you want to get some of the things from another class, how you can get it? Through inheritance only or not? If you want to inherit the properties from another class, what you needed? Two classes are required or not? Okay, one class is like a subclass. Another class is like what? Superclass. Okay, here my class is like a subclass. Why? Because I need some of the properties from another class. So the superclass is what? Superclass given by whom? Some of the external things given by whom? React people, right? So that my superclass is given by React people. So that can we get that superclass now? Okay, if the superclass name is not there, okay, do you want to put like A? My A is the class given by React people? No, right? Okay, my React people already they created one class. You have to use that class or not? So we go to that class now. Now see here, my React is the library. Inside this, there has one class is there that is called as a React component is the class. React component is the class. It is like a functional class. It's like a functional class. In your JavaScript, there is two types of classes or there. One is like functional, another one is like class keyword. Okay, now whatever it is, just leave it. It's a class. So if it is the class, then the time can we extend my class from this class? Okay, how we can we extend like this? Okay, if this one is not there, if this one is not there, can anyone tell? My class app contains how many properties? My class app contains how many properties? How many properties? Properties nothing but variables and methods. 0. Perfect. Okay. There is no variable. There is no methods. 0. If I add this piece of code here, can anyone tell my app contains how many variables and how many methods? How many variables and how many methods? How many variables and how many methods? My own variables plus my own members plus the members which are inherited from React.component class or not. Both are inside where? Inside my app or not? Agreed? Yes or no? Why? Because this class members inherited into my class. Agreed? Okay. This class contains how many members? This class contains how many members? Can we check? This class contains how many members? Who created this class? Tell me first. Who created this class? You created or React people? My React people created or not? So that already my React people created, right? So they only provided one library. So I loaded that library. Inside this, can I check this class? This is only my class or not? This is only my class. See here, 346 React development.js. These people written this library. Inside this library, they written this much code. Okay, 3,330 lines of code they written. Okay, inside this line number 340 or something, right? Somewhere. Okay, here this is my class or not? Can anyone tell? My class is like a functional class. This is not like a class keyword. It's like a functional class. See how many variables are there? One variable. This dot props, one variable is there or not there? This dot context, one variable is there or not there? This dot refs, one more variable. This dot updater. How many default variables are there? 4 variables are there or not? What are those? What are those? Props. What is that variable? What is the purpose? We'll see later. It's a general concept. Okay, one variable name is like a prop, another one variable like a context, another variable like a ref, another variable like a updater. These all variables inside which class? Component class. So these class variables inherited into my class or not? These class variables inherited into my class. Can anyone tell? You now my app contains how many members? How many variables? Now my app contains how many variables? Variables which are inherited into my app. So overall 4 are there. So that those 4 variables inside my app or not? Yes or no? Okay. Now I'm going to write like a constructor. Okay. When you go for constructor, can anyone tell? When you go for constructor inside the class, when you go for constructor, if you have any work with current object this, if you want to create any variable, then that time you can go with this dot variable I'm going to create. All my class members initialized with what? Okay, all my class member inside my current object is only this dot n1 equals to 10. I created one variable, simple variable. Okay, if this variable if you want to create, then the time which place is the right place? Constructor only or not? Now tell me. If my class is extends from the another class, inside this class if you have the constructor, you are the responsible person to call your superclass constructor to perform initialization of my superclass members or not? Yes or no? Okay, in your class if you have the constructor, okay, that class is extends from the another class, okay, then that time you are the responsible person to call your superclass constructor to perform superclass constructor to perform initialization for superclass members or not? So you have to call like this. Then that time will it work? My super always should be the what? First executable statement or not of the constructor, so that you can call like this. Yes or no? Got it or not? Now for example, I don't have any work with this particular this dot n1. Can I remove this one? Then the time do you want me to call my superclass constructor externally? Do you want me to call? No need. Then the time my JavaScript will take care. Okay, first it is going to check constructor is there, not there. Okay, then the time my default constructor is going to execute. That guy already called what? My superclass constructor or not? If my superclass is there. Okay, now inside my app 4 variables are there. What are those? One is like props, one variable. Another one is like context is one variable. Another one is like refs is one variable. Another one is like updater. All variables purpose we'll see later. Updater. Okay, done. Now my app class gets some external things. Okay, from my React.component. Now onwards, my app is behaving like what? My app is going to behave like a component. Now onwards, my app is going to behave like what? Component. If this pod is not there, then that my app is like what? It's a simple JavaScript class only. That's it. Okay, done. What is the purpose of the component? Can anyone tell? What is the purpose? Why we go for component? First, tell me. What is the need? Why we go for component? Okay, reuse. Next, to prepare some content, right? That content next level, that content we are going to reuse or not, that depends. Okay, to prepare some content, okay, to render inside the container or not. Agreed. To render inside the container or not. So for good, to prepare the content. So inside the class, if you want to write, if you want to prepare some content, is nothing but if you want to write some of the statements, where you can write that statements inside the class. If you want to write some of the statements, you want to write some functionality, say it's a functionality. What is my functionality? Prepare content is my functionality. Inside the class, where you can write the functionality, inside the class where you can write the functionality, my class is a collection of variables and methods. Inside the method we can write the functionality or not. Okay, so that how many methods you can write it? How many methods you can write it? Any number of methods you can write it. What is the name of the method? You can write any name or not. So that can we write one f1 like this? Any problem with this? Can I write like f2 like this? Any number of methods you can write it or not? Yes, you can write it. No problem at all. No problem at all. Now in this f1 and f2 two methods you created, which method is used to prepare the content? You decide. Why? Because you only written right these two methods. Okay, which method you want me to use to prepare the content? Which method you want me to use? Okay, any one of the method. Can I use like f2 or can I use like f1? Okay, you can use f1. How one method returns some content back? How one method returns some content back? Okay, it is by using return statement or not. By using return statement, it can return some content back or not. What is my content? My content is this one or not. Hello world. This is my content or not. Can I close my h1? Okay, done. Okay, now inside the component, okay, to prepare the content, which code used, that code we can say like what? Inside the component, to prepare the content, which piece of code you written, that code we can say like a JSX. JSX is the combination of what? HTML. The next one is like XML, is nothing but user defined elements. The next main difference between JSX and normal HTML is what? My JSX code is going to compile. Who is going to compile? Inside the script, there has some JSX code is there that should have to compile. Who is going to compile? By using one more third-party library is there, Babel. By using Babel, we can compile this JSX content or not. So can we get that Babel now? Can we get that Babel now? Okay, done. Okay. Okay, done. Now, who has content? Which method has content? Which method has content? Which method has content? F1. Is my F1 is a direct method or it's inside a class? Can I call like this F1? Can I call like this directly? Is it possible? Is it possible to call my F1 directly like this? No way, because it's like a class member. It's like a class member. If you want to call, if you want to access a class member, then the time how we can access it? How we can access it? By using an object or not. By using an object or not. So can we create an object for this particular one? So how we can create an object? How we can create an object? Where my O equals to new app or not. New app. So my object created. Okay, once my object created, the next thing is what? The next thing is what? You have to call your F1 to get the content or not. How you can call it? Okay, where my content equals to o dot f1, like this you can call it or not. Okay, once you call this is my content, this content and this is my container. Can we load my content inside the container? Okay, how we can load it? By using which method? By using render method. That render method is inside where? inside where React DOM library or not. So that can we get that React DOM library? Okay, done. Now inside my React DOM library, okay, which method is that? Render is the method. Okay, my render method first one is going to take what? Element as an argument or not. So can I write like a content here? This is only content, right? My content internally contains what? O.f1. My O.f1 is nothing but h1. So my content is like what? One element only or not? Agreed? Yes or no? My content is like an element only or not. Once it is done, okay, the next one is like document dot, okay, reference get element by id, get element by id of what? Root or not? Root or not? Now this is the content, right? This content has to compile with what? Compile with the Babel. So that here my script should be what? My type equals to text Babel. Okay, text Babel. Done. Can we run this one? Can we run this one? My hello world. Hello world. But the thing is, syntactically everything is okay. Whatever you know about the class concept, you applied. Okay, I have a class. My class contains a member. It's nothing but my class contains a method. Okay, if you want to call this method, you have to create an object, and then you are going to call your f1. Okay, you are going to call your function. But my React people said like, hey, in your application, how many components you can write? Any number of components, hundreds of components I'm going to write. Okay, if you create an object externally like this for each and every component, okay, how you can manage? My new operator is nothing but it's going to allocate the memory. Every time it is going to allocate the memory. It's not a recommended. You are not a person to handle all this space. Okay, those people said like, hey, don't create an object from your side. I will take care. I will take care, they said. So that can we remove this code? Okay, he said like what? Don't create an object from your side. If you create, you are not able to manage that object effectively. I will take care of that one. So that he said like, I'm going to create an object for this particular class. Okay, if object is created by whom now? Object created by whom now? Object created by whom? My React people or not? My React library or not? Okay, if my object created by React people is nothing but React library, then that time who can call the method now? Okay, who has an object? That guy only can call a class member, right? Yes or no? Okay, who has the method? Who has an object? That guy only can call your class member or not? Now, my object with what? My object with my React people or not? React people or not? Then they only can call your method or not? They only can call your method or not? You are not able to call the method. Why? Because you don't know, you don't have that object. If you have an object O here, then the time you can call it. That's correct only. But if you run this code, can anyone tell what is my error? If you run this code, what is my error? O is not defined. Because object is not there. Object is not with you. Object is with my React people, so that you are not able to call it. You are not able to call it. Now everything is controlled by whom now? My React only or not? So that my object is created by whom? Created by React. Yes, they created object. Okay, if you created or React people created, whoever created, okay, the way of syntax is same, right? They are going to handle, they are going to manage in another way, but the way of creating an object is same. So that they created an object now. O equals to new arithmetic. For example, think, okay, like this. Now, which method has to call to get the content? Which method has to call to get the content? Okay, can anyone tell this piece of code where they written? Where they written? Okay, in react.development.js. Okay, in this page only, right? This is only, right? Okay, they all methods and everything is available. Okay, now come on. Here he created an object. He created an object. Perfect. Now this O is available inside which file? React.development.js. Okay, now tell me which method you want me to call to get the content? Which method you want me to call to get the content? Which method you want me to call to get the content? O.f1 or not? O.f1 or not? Can anyone tell my f1 method? How my React people knows? You written f1, some other person created one more component, he written like f2, F10, no, F11, like this, different methods, different people are going to write different components. We are going to use like different methods. Then the time how my React knows about your methods to get the content, that is the problem. There has some mismatches there or not there. If you create an object for this class, particular class, then the time you know that one which method has to call. But my React people create an object, right? Then the time how these people knows about your method. Okay, now I'm using like F1 in another component. I'm going to use like F2 method to create a component, to create a content. Another component F3 method I use to get the content, to create the content. Then the time how my React people knows about the method which you prepare, method which you use to prepare the content. Is it possible? Is it possible to know to my React library? Is it possible to know? Obviously no, right? Which method has to call? Okay, what is the solution then? Okay, here you are using like different methods. Okay, simply there has one more component like this. Any number of components you can write it, right? F1, here I'm using like F2. Okay, where is my content now? Inside F2 method. Okay, there has one more component is there, one more component is there. Okay, this is like F3. Here I use like F3 method to get the content. So here my React create an object. Which method has to call? F1 method has to call. Here my React is going to create an object. Okay, which method has to call? F2 method has to call. Here F3 method has to call. How my React knows about your method? Okay, you are writing like different method names. How my React knows? Okay, obviously my React don't know about your methods or not. If you create an object, yes, directly you can call your methods. Okay, your object is with you only, you can call your methods, no problem at all. Okay, then what is the solution for this? Can anyone tell what is the solution for this? This is the keyword. By using this keyword you can access any method, right? F3, F2. Okay, which method you want me to call? F3 or F2? Here F1, F2 both are available. Which method you want me to call? Okay, here also F1 and F2. Which method you want me to call? Which method you want me to call? The solution they only said like, hey, if I give chance to you people, okay, you are going to write like different methods. It's not possible to recognize your methods from my side. I will do one thing. Me only create an object, right? Me only create an object so that I am calling one method. I am calling one fixed method. I am calling what? One fixed method. Okay, to get the content. So can you people follow? Can you people use that method only to prepare the content now onwards? Can you people use that method only? Don't use your own methods to prepare the content. Solution provided or not? Done. Yes, my React people created an object. Which method they are going to call to get the content? My render method is going to call. Okay, my React people only create an object for this particular app1 also. Which method he is going to call? Render method only is going to call to get the content like this. Okay, any number of components you can write it, not a problem. I am going to take care to create an object. Your thing is like you should have to use which method I called. That method only you are going to use to prepare the content. Other than that, any method use, I will throw an error to you. He said that one. So that what you have to do now onwards? What we have to do? Whenever you create a class component, my component should extend from react.component. Okay, you to prepare the content inside your class component, you should have to override which method? Render method. That method is going to return some content. That content is going to what? Render inside the container or not. So here, where is my content? What is my element? Where is my content? My content inside this particular component or not? So how we can use this component? My component is always starts with capital letter in the element format or not. Now, can you come here? Can I refresh my page? Now say this. Hello world. Okay, now if you come here, working as expected or not? Yes, you can define any number of methods, no problem at all. Okay, if you handle this one, you can do one thing. This is my hello world. Okay. Now tell me, my React is going to call which method? My React is going to call which method? My React is going to call which method to get the content? Render method. render method. But you placed where? Inside F2. So that can we call my F2 here? This dot F2. If I call my F2, if I call my F2 here, my F2 returns what? H1. That H1 is going to return by render method or not. Like this you can use wherever you want. Now see, this is only my expected output, no problem at all. Like this you can use your methods now. Yes or no? But the thing is, you should have to override the render method. Why? Because my React people is going to call render method only. Render method only. Now, for example, you remove this one. Okay. Can anyone tell? Direct error message. Tell me. What is the error message? What is the error message? Can anyone tell? What is the error message? What is the error message? Can anyone? What is the error message? Render method is not defined. Render not defined. Okay. Internally, how it is going to work? I will tell you. Now, first it is going to create an object or not. Okay. Who created an object? Who created an object? Who created an object? React. React. Okay. Now, which method is going to call to get the content? Render method is going to call. See, my class name is like what? Okay, my object name is what? O, not O. Instance is my object. Okay, proper name. Instantiation is what? Object creation. Now tell me, you create an object for my app. My app contains how many variables? How many members? Tell me, how many members? Only one member. What is that member? What is that member? My instance is like this now. F2 with some function like this or not? Yes or no? This is the one. This is the one like this. Now you create an object for my app. My app contains only one member F2. Now instance dot render. Tell me, instance is nothing but object. Render is there or not there? Render is there or not there? Not there. Inside one object, one property is not there. What is my answer? Inside an object, one property is not there. What is my result? Inside my object, one property is not there. What is my result? Undefined. Undefined is my result or not? Okay, now you are calling what? Undefined. Can I call undefined? Then that it gives me an error like what? Instance dot render is not a function. Now come here. Can I see this error message? Instance dot render is not a function. Okay, my React people calling. Okay, but render method is not there, so that is like undefined. So how we can call it? Instance dot render is like undefined. If it is like undefined, how we can call that one? Understand? Now come here. Can I refresh my page? Okay, see this instance dot render is not a function. Now, if you come here, render is there. Render is there. Render is there. Okay, but I didn't write anything. Then the time, can anyone tell? What is my answer? Render method not written any time. What is the use of render method? See, thing was written. Not written. What is the use of that component? There is no use, right? Okay, it gives me an error. It gives me an error. Okay, it throws an error. You should have to return some content. There is no other option. You should have to return some content like this. Understand or not? This is my simple class component. You have to do if you want to create a class component. Okay, class your class name, class your class name, extends from react.component. extends from react.component. Okay, then my class can get some external things to behave that one like a component. You know that